画面の向こうにいるあんたたち、今、どんな顔をして、どんな気持ちで、この僕の言葉を聞いてくれているだろうか。毎日が面白いか、心は燃えているか、それとも、なんだか霧の中にいるように、視界が晴れず、足元がおぼつかないような、そんな日々を送ってはいないだろうか。朝、目覚めた時によし、今日もやるぞ、と心が躍るか。それとも、重たい身体を引きずるように、ため息混じりに一日を始めてはいないか。いやあ、こんにちは。僕は岡本太郎だ。世の中を見渡せば、便利なものは溢れているし、情報は瞬時に手に入る。世界中の出来事がわかり、誰とでもつながれる。昔に比べれば、ずっと豊かで、自由になったように見えるかもしれない。だが、どうだろう。その便利さやつながりは、本当にあんたたちを自由に、そして豊かにしているだろうか。むしろ、絶え間なく流れ込む情報に溺れ、他人と自分を比べては落ち込み、常に誰かの言い値を気にしながら、自分自身の本当の気持ちを見失ってはいないか。見えないルールや、無言の圧力、普通という名の窮屈な檻に、知らず知らずのうちに閉じ込められて、身動きが取れなくなってはいないだろうか。こうあるべきだ。こうするのが常識だ。失敗は許されない。空気を読め。そんな声が、テレビからも、ネットからも、周りの人々からも、そしていつの間にか、自分自身の内側からも聞こえてきて、本当にやりたいこと、心の底から叫びたいことを、懸命ぶって、あるいは臆病風に吹かれて、押し殺してしまってはいないか。僕は、そんな風に縮こまって生きるために、あんたたちがこの世に生まれてきたなんて、これっぽっちも思わない。それは、生命に対する冒涜だとさえ思うんだ。あんたたち一人一人の中には、まだ気づいていないかもしれないけれど、あるいは気づかないふりをしているのかもしれないけれど、とんでもないエネルギーが、マグマのように、静かに、しかし確実に、煮えたぎっているんだ。それは、誰かと同じである必要のない、あんただけのユニークな色と形を持った、聖なる炎なんだ。僕は今日、そのマグマを、どうやって地上に噴出させるか、その聖なる炎を、どうやって燃え上がらせるか、どうやってあんた自身の人生を、誰のものでもない、あんただけの芸術作品として爆発させるか、そのための鍵を、いや、導火線を、あんたたちの心に届けに来たんだ。僕自身の、傷だらけで、泥だらけで、しかし最高にエキサイティングだった人生を通して、全身全霊で伝えたいんだ。だから、少しの間、心をまっさらにして、深呼吸して、僕の話に付き合ってほしい。これは、説教じゃない。偉そうなことを言うつもりもない。僕からあんたへの、魂のラブレターのようなものだ。不器用で、暑苦しいかもしれないが、嘘偽りのない、僕の心の叫びだと思ってくれ。きっと、あんたの中で何かが、うずき始めるはずだから。まず、あの言葉から始めよう。芸術は爆発だ。この言葉を聞いて、あんたたちは何を思う？なんだか過激で、ちょっと怖いと感じるかい？それとも、何かワクワクするような響きを感じるかい？どちらでもいい。ただ、これは、僕が芸術家として、そして一人の人間として、生涯をかけて追い求めてきた、たった一つの真実なんだ。爆発とは、決して破壊のことだけを言っているんじゃない。もちろん、古い殻を打ち破るという意味では、破壊的な側面もある。だが、本質はそこじゃない。それは、生命が、その持てる力のすべてをかけて、瞬間に、完全に、開ききることだ。硬いつぼみが、ある瞬間、一気に花開くように、火山が、溜め込んだエネルギーを一気に噴出するように、あんた自身の内なるエネルギーが、何の制約もなく、何の計算もなく、何の損得感情もなく、ただ純粋に、ほとばしり出ることなんだ。それは、コントロールされたエネルギーじゃない。理屈や常識で押さえつけられたものじゃない。むしろ、制御不能なくらい、激しく噴出する、生命そのものの、 ありのままの姿、その叫びなんだよ。僕がこれを強く意識するようになったのは、やはりパリでの経験が大きい。10代の終わりに、僕は日本を飛び出した。当時の日本は、どうにも息が詰まる場所だった。芸術の世界も、アカデミズムという権威が幅を利かせ、古い型にはまったものばかりがもてはやされていた。うまく描くこと、きれいに描くことが、至上命題だった。僕は、そんなものとは違う。もっと生々しい、もっと自由な、魂に直接響くような表現を求めていたんだ。パリは、そんな僕を強烈な刺激で迎えてくれた。モンパルナスのカフェル、ドームやら、ロトンドに夜な夜な集まっては、一杯のコーヒーで何時間も粘りながら、酒を酌み交わしながら、芸術論や人生論を朝まで熱く語り合った。そこには、画家も、詩人も、哲学者も、亡命者も、世界中から集まった、あらゆる国の、あらゆる種類の人間がいた。みんな、明日のパンにも困るような貧乏だったけれど、瞳だけは飢えた狼のようにギラギラと輝いていた。自分の信じるもの、表現したいものを、何よりも大切にし、そのためなら、どんな犠牲も厭わないという気概に満ちていた。大学では、マルセル、モースという偉大な学者の下で民族学を学んだ。アフリカの仮面、オセアニアの彫刻、洞窟の壁画、それらは西洋の洗練された美術の基準から見れば未開で野蛮なものだったかもしれない。だが僕はそこにこそ人間が文明という名の服を着る前に持っていたはずの根源的な生命力、世界と直接交換する呪術的なまでのエネルギーを感じ取ったんだ。計算も技巧もそんなものを超越した恐怖も喜びも祈りもすべてが混然一体となった魂そのものの叫びがそこにはあった。それは僕が追い求めるものの確かな手触りを与えてくれた。そしてジョルジュ・バタイユやアンドレ・ブルトンといったシュルレアリストたちとの出会いも大きかった。彼らは理性の支配を疑い、夢や無意識、狂気、エロスといった人間の奥底に潜む光の当たらない領域にこそ真実があると考え、それを表現しようと試みていた。常識をひっくり返し、タブーに挑戦する、そのラディカルな姿勢に僕は強く共鳴したんだ。そんな中で僕はピカソの絵と出会った。ある日、画廊で見た水差しと果物鉢という一見なんてことない生物画だ。だが僕はその絵の前で金縛りにあったように動けなくなった。なんだこれは、うまいとか下手とかそんな基準がまるで意味をなさない。そこには描かれたものを超えてピカソという人間の業のような魂の塊のようなものがとんでもない迫力で存在していた。キュビスムなんていう理屈じゃない。彼は物の形を一度バラバラに解体し、彼自身の視点で彼自身の論理で再構築していた。それは世界を常識の目で見るのではなく、自分自身の目でゼロから捉え直すという革命的な行為だった。自由とはこういうことか。芸術とはここまで自由で、ここまで激しく、ここまで人間そのものであるべきなんだ。僕は頭を殴られたような衝撃を受け、同時に燃えるような闘志が湧き上がってきた。いつかこのピカソを超えてやるとね。このパリでの経験が僕に爆発の意味を骨の髄まで教えてくれたんだ。それは誰かの真似をすることじゃない。世間の評価を気にすることでもない。自分の内なる声にどこまでも正直になること。たとえそれがどんなに奇妙でどんなに理解されなくても、それを信じ表現し尽くすことなんだ。あんたたちも自分の心に聞いてみてほしい。本当にやりたいことは何だい？誰かに笑われるかもしれない。失敗するかもしれない。そんな恐れに自分の心の声をかき消されてはいないか。子供の頃、夢中になっていたことは何だい？あの頃の無邪気で純粋な衝動を どこかに置き忘れてきてはいないか。爆発というのは何も大きなことを成し遂げることだけを言うんじゃない。日常のほんの小さなことでもいいんだ。例えば、ふと空を見上げて綺麗だなと感じたなら、その気持ちを誰に遠慮することなく、素直に味わい、声に出してみる。ああ、綺麗だ。と、道端の草花に心を動かされたなら、その感動を大切にする。好きな音楽を聴いて、身体が自然に動き出したら、周りの目なんて気にせず、踊ってみる。そういう小さな心の動きを一つ一つ見逃さずに感じきる。それが爆発への第一歩なんだ。そして下手こそいいと僕は言う。これは投げやりになれという意味じゃないぞ。逆なんだ。うまくやろうとするとどうしたって既存の方や誰かの評価を気にしてしまう。先生の教え、世間の流行、過去の成功例、そんなものに自分を合わせようとしてしまう。そうするとどんどん小さくこじんまりとまとまってしまうんだ。だが下手でいいと腹をくくるとどうだいい。途端に自由になるじゃないか。他人の物差しから解放されて自分だけの表現、自分だけのやり方を探求できるようになる。そこには予定調和のない予測不可能なドキドキするような面白さが生まれるんだ。考えてもみてくれ。完璧なものなんてこの世にあるだろうか。僕はないと思う。むしろ不完全さ、いびつさ、矛盾、そういうものの中にこそ人間的な魅力や新しい創造の可能性が潜んでいるんじゃないかと僕は思うんだ。あんたが自分は下手だ、不器用だと感じている部分があるなら、それはあんただけのとてつもない宝物かもしれないんだぜ。それを隠すな。むしろそれを誇れ。そこからあんただけのユニークな爆発が生まれるんだから。だから恐れずにまず一歩を踏み出してみることだ。何でもいい。絵を描く、歌を歌う、文章を書く、料理をする、あるいは新しい趣味を始める、新しい人に会ってみる、行ったことのない場所へ旅をしてみる。結果なんてどうだっていいじゃないか。その瞬間にあんたが全身全霊でぶつかっていれば、たとえそれがどんなに拙くても、それはもう立派な爆発なんだ。その積み重ねがあんたの人生を色鮮やかにダイナミックに変えていくんだよ。次に自分の中に毒を持てという言葉について話そう。これもまた挑発的に聞こえるかもしれないな。だがこれもあんたが自分らしく力強く生きるためには欠かせないものなんだ。ここで言う毒とは悪人になれとか他人を傷つけろという意味じゃない。これも誤解されやすい言葉かもしれないな。ここで言う毒とは世間の常識や周りの空気に安易に迎合しないあんただけの子のことだ。それは他人とは違う考え方、感じ方、社会に対するなぜという疑問、権威に対する反発心、それは時には周りの人たちをヒヤリとさせたりイラッとさせたりするかもしれない。波風を立てるかもしれない。だから毒なんだ。だが考えてみてくれ。もしすべての人間が同じ考えを持ち同じ行動をしていたら、そんな社会はどれほど退屈でどれほど恐ろしいだろうか。それはまるで意志を持たないロボットの集団じゃないか。新しいものは何も生まれず、社会は停滞し、やがては腐っていくだろう。社会が進化するためには、常識を疑い、異を唱える毒が必要なんだ。そして、あんた自身が一人の人間として深く豊かに生きるためにも毒は必要なんだ。周りに合わせてばかりいて、自分の本音を押し殺していたら、あんたの心はいつか窒息してしまうだろう。いつもニコニコして、いい人を演じて、誰からも嫌われないように立ち回る。そんな生き方は、一見、楽に見えるかもしれないが、それは、自分の魂に、毎日、少しずつ毒を持っているようなものだ。自分の好きも嫌いもわからなくなり、自分が何者なのかさえ、 見失ってしまうかもしれない。僕はそんな生き方を断固として拒否する。僕は常に自分の心に正直でありたい。自分の目で見て、自分の頭で考え、自分の言葉で語りたい。たとえそれが世間の常識と真っ向から対立するものであっても、たとえそれが世界中を敵に回すことになったとしても、僕は僕の信じる道を歩き続ける。それが僕にとっての毒であり、僕にとっての誠実さなんだ。あんたたちにも自分だけの毒を大切にしてほしい。それはきっとあんたが子供の頃には当たり前に持っていたもののはずだ。なんで空は青いのを、どうして人は死ぬのを、と世の中のあらゆるものに疑問をぶつけていた。あの頃の純粋で鋭い心を思い出してほしい。いつの間にかそんな疑問を口にするのは大人げないとか面倒くさいやつだと思われるのが嫌で、蓋をしてしまってはいないか。もちろん毒を持つことは時には孤独を伴うかもしれない。理解されない苦しみを味わうかもしれない。だがその孤独や苦しみこそがあんたを強くし深くするんだ。誰にも媚びず自分の足で立つ強さをあんたに与えてくれるんだ。そしてな、本当に面白いのは、あんたが自分の毒を恐れずに表現し始めたとき、不思議なことに同じような毒を持った仲間が必ず現れるということだ。表面的な付き合いではない、魂でつながれる本当の仲間がね。そしてこの毒を持つことは対極主義という考え方にもつながっていく。僕たちはどうしても物事を白か黒か善か悪かポジティブかネガティブか、そんな風に二つに分けて考えたがる。そして片方を選びもう片方を捨てようとする。特に現代はポジティブシンキングなんてものが流行って、ネガティブな感情を持つことは悪いことだなんていう風潮すらある。だが本当にそれでいいのだろうか。この世界はそんなに単純なものだろうか。僕はそうは思わない。光があれば影があるように、喜びがあれば悲しみがあるように、この世界はあらゆる対極が互いにぶつかり合い支え合いながら成り立っているんだ。その両方があって初めて世界は立体的で深みのあるものになる。人間の心だってそうだ。聖人のような心もあれば悪魔のような心もある。それが人間だ。どちらか一方を否定してきれいな部分だけで生きようとしてもそれは偽りだ。むしろその両方の自分をありのままに認め受け入れること、その矛盾や葛藤を引き受けること、そこにこそ人間の本当の強さ、深さが生まれるんだ。僕の戦争体験はこの対極を骨身に染みて教えてくれた。戦場では人間の醜いエゴや残虐性がこれでもかとばかりにむき出しになる。昨日まで笑い合っていた仲間が次の瞬間には物言わぬむくろとなって転がっている。そんな不条理が日常だった。人間の命が虫けらのように扱われる。その絶望的な光景は今でも目に焼き付いている。だがそんな地獄のような場所でも僕は人間の持つ信じられないほどの美しさ、崇高さも見たんだ。自分の危険を顧みず仲間を助けようとする兵士、極限の状況でもユーモアを忘れず周りを励まそうとする人間、死を前にしてなお人間の尊厳を失わない姿、憎しみの中でもふとした瞬間に見せる優しさ、破壊と創造、絶望と希望、醜と美、それらがまるでメビウスの輪のように分かちがたく結びついている。その現実を目の当たりにして僕は安易なヒューマニズムや単純な善悪二元論を信じることができなくなった。世界はもっと複雑でもっと混沌としていて、そしてだからこそもっとダイナミックで面白いんだと明日の神話を描いたとき、僕は原爆という人類が生み出した最悪の毒をその中心に据えた。だがそれはただ悲劇を嘆くためじゃない。 その絶望的な破壊の中から、なお立ち上がり、力強く未来へ向かおうとする、生命のエネルギーを描きたかったんだ。悲劇と、それを乗り越える意志、その対極の激しいぶつかり合いこそが、この絵の心臓部なんだ。あんたたちも、どうか、自分の心の中の対極を、恐れずに見つめてほしい。ネガティブな感情を、悪者扱いしないでほしい。不安があるからこそ、人は備えることができる。怒りがあるからこそ、不正義に立ち向かうことができる。悲しみがあるからこそ、人は他人の痛みに共感できる。そのネガティブなエネルギーを、無理に消そうとするのではなく、それをどう見つめ、どう受け入れ、どう創造的な力に転換していくか。そのプロセスこそが、人間を成長させるんだ。その毒も、対極も、すべてがあんたの一部であり、あんたを豊かにするエネルギー源なんだ。それを、どう使いこなし、どう表現していくか。それが、あんたの人生という芸術なんだよ。最後に、僕があんたたちに、何よりも強く伝えたいのは、常に新しく生まれ変われ、ということだ。人生は積み重ねだと、多くの人は言う。経験を積み、知識を蓄え、財産を増やし、そうやって、人生を豊かにしていくのだ。と、だが、僕は、その考え方に、大きな疑問を持っている。もちろん、過去の経験から学ぶことは大切だ。だが、それに縛られてしまったら、どうなる？過去の成功体験が、次もこうすればうまくいくはずだ。という慢心や固定観念を生み、新しい挑戦への足かせになる。古い知識が、新しい時代の変化を見る目を曇らせる。積み上げたものが、プライドや執着となり、重荷となって、身動きが取れなくなる。そんなことが、往々にしてあるんじゃないか。だから僕は、人生は積み減らすべきだ。と言うんだ。昨日までの自分、過去の栄光、身につけてしまった常識や固定観念、人から貼られたレッテル。そんな重たい荷物は、どんどん捨てていく。常に身軽で、常にゼロの状態から、新しいものに挑んでいく。常に、生まれたての赤ん坊のように、好奇心に満ちた目で、世界を見つめる。常に、ゼロからスタートする覚悟を持つ。これが、言うは安く、行うは固いことだというのは、僕自身が一番よく知っている。人間は、どうしても、慣れ親しんだもの、手に入れたものに、しがみつきたくなる生き物だからね。変化は、常に不安を伴う。未知の世界は、怖いものだ。だが、考えてもみてくれ。生命の本質とは、何だろうか。それは、変化し続けることじゃないか。川の水が常に流れているように、木々が季節ごとに姿を変えるように、空の色が一瞬たりとも同じでないように、生命は、一瞬たりとも、同じ状態にはとどまらない。変化を止めたとき、水はよどみ、木は枯れ、生命は死へと向かうんだ。僕は芸術家として常に自己模倣を最大の敵としてきた。一枚絵を描き上げたら、それはもう過去のものだ。たとえそれがどんなに評価されようとも、それに安住せず、次の瞬間には全く新しい表現、全く新しい挑戦へと向かわなければならない。それは自分自身を常に壊し続ける作業でもある。苦しいけれど、その先にしか本当の創造はないんだ。僕が縄文土器や沖縄文化にあれほどまでに強く惹かれたのも、そこにこの常に新しく生まれ変わる生命のダイナミズムを感じたからだ。縄文土器の常識を超えた奇妙で力強い造形、炎のような文様、渦巻くエネルギー、そこにはうまく作ろうとかきれいに見せようとかいう意識はみじんもない。ただ内側から湧き上がるエネルギーがそのまま形になったような圧倒的な存在感がある。それは完成された美しさではなく、常に生成し変化し続ける生命の運動そのものなんだ。沖縄の祭りに見たあの熱狂、そこでは人々は 日常の役割を脱ぎ捨てて、神々と一体となり、狂ったように踊り、歌、汗まみれになり、声を枯らし、我を忘れる。それは、まさに、古い自分を脱ぎ捨てて、新しい生命力を得るための再生の儀式なんだ。彼らは、毎年、その儀式を通して、自分たちをリセットし、新しく生まれ変わっていたんだ。あんたたちも、どうか、変化を恐れないでほしい。もう、この年だからなんて、絶対に言うな。年齢を重ねることは、衰えることじゃない。むしろ、多くの経験を通して、物事の本質を見る目が養われ、より自由に、より深く、人生を味わえるようになる。素晴らしいことじゃないか。問題は、年齢じゃない。心の持ち方だ。大切なのは、心の若さを失わないことだ。未知のものへの好奇心、新しいことへの挑戦心、それさえあれば、人間は何歳になっても新しく生まれ変わることができるんだ。毎日、小さなことでいい。新しい挑戦をしてみよう。いつもと違う道を歩いてみる。いつもと違う店に入る。いつもと違うジャンルの音楽を聴く。いつもと違う意見に耳を傾ける。普段話さない人に勇気を出して話しかけてみる。そんな、ほんの少しのズレが、あんたの凝り固まった日常に、新鮮な風を吹き込み、新しい発見や出会いをもたらしてくれるはずだ。そして、時には、思い切って、大きな挑戦をしてみることも大切だ。長年、心の中で温めてきた夢があるなら、今こそ、それを実行に移す時じゃないか。海外旅行でも、資格の勉強でも、企業でも、何でもいい。失敗したっていいじゃないか。やってみなければ、何も始まらない。挑戦しないことこそが、最大の失敗なんだから。さあ、あんたたち、僕の話を、どう聞いたかな。あんたたち一人一人が、この宇宙にたった一人しかいない、かけがえのない、素晴らしい存在なんだ。あんたたちの中には、無限の可能性と、とてつもないエネルギーが、今も、この瞬間も、眠っている。それを、誰もが持っているんだ。それを、解き放つんだ。周りの目なんて、気にするな。常識なんて、ぶち壊せ。失敗なんて、恐れるな。あんたの人生は、あんただけのものなんだ。誰かのために、自分を犠牲にする必要なんかない。あんた自身の心に、正直に、まっすぐに、生きてほしい。あんた自身の衝動を、信じ、爆発させてほしい。あんた自身の人生を、誰にも遠慮することなく、思いっきり、想像してほしい。それは、決して、楽な道じゃないかもしれない。孤独を感じることもあるだろう。傷つくこともあるだろう。だが、その先にこそ、本当の喜び、本当の自由、そして、心の底から生きていてよかった、と思えるような、輝く人生が待っているんだ。そのヒリヒリするような実感こそが、生きるということなんだ。僕はいつだって、そう信じて、戦い続けてきた。社会の常識とも、芸術界の権威とも、そして何よりも、自分自身の弱さや怠惰とも、戦い続けてきた。そして、これからも、死ぬまで戦い続ける。だから、あんたたちも、立ち上がれ。自分の足で、しっかりと大地を踏みしめ、顔を上げ、前を向け。もう、うつむいている時間は終わりだ。あんただけの、最高の爆発を、この世界に見せつけてやろうじゃないか。さあ、今すぐ、ここから、始めるんだ。その第一歩、踏み出すんだ。
Those old stale desires don't feel so good, do they? And when you think about it, there's never a reason for a desire to hang around in unfulfilled form so long that it gets stale. Because when you ask, it's always given. So if you have stale desires, what's up with that? We understand how when some smart aleck dead entity like Abraham would say, are you appreciating the contrast of your time and place? And don't you just love those desires that are being born out of it? We can understand how sometimes you would not want to give us a resounding yes. When you ask, it is always given. Step 1, ask. It always being given is a step 2 part. In other words, that's not your work. When you ask, it is always given. But sometimes, without meaning to, you may not be in vibrational alignment with what you're asking for. And it's easy to understand why that might happen, because you are physically focused. There's lots for you to observe. And as you look into your environment and you see those things, you cannot help but notice them as they are. And as you notice them as they are, you achieve further vibrational alignment with them. And as you achieve further vibrational alignment with them, you continue to offer more vibration about them. And as you offer more vibration about them, you continue to get more of it. In other words, we understand how, without meaning to, you might be achieving vibrational alignment with what is, even though what is not exactly what you want. Think about it. So, if you're giving all of your attention to what is, and some of what is pleases you, then you're getting more of that. But some of what is doesn't please you, then you're getting more of that. And then you say, Abraham, why do you keep harassing us by telling us that when we ask it is always given? Because that can't be true. Where's my stuff? There are all kinds of things that I'm asking for that is not apparently being given because I'm not finding it in my experience. And we say, it being given and you letting it in are two different things. You have to be in vibrational alignment. That's like saying, I can't hear what's being broadcast from that radio tower on my radio. It must not be being broadcast. So you tell all your friends, they're not broadcasting from that tower anymore because I can't hear a thing. And your friend might say, well, do you have your radio on? Do you have your tuner set to the same frequency? Because if you are not set to the same frequency of the broadcast tower, you're not going to be receiving what's being broadcast. And the same thing is true of anything that you're asking for. If you're saying, I want more money, I don't have enough money, I'm tired of not having enough money, I've never had enough money, I hardly know anybody who has enough money, I want more money, but I don't have enough money, I'm sick and tired of not having enough money, it's so irritating not to have enough money, not having enough money is scary, I wish I had more money, but I don't have enough money, I want more money. You're not a vibrational match to more money. You're a vibrational match to exactly how it is. And exactly how it is going to continue to unfold in your experience. Sometimes you say, I'm stuck. And we say, that's not possible because everything's in motion. You say, well, I'm stuck. I don't have enough money. We say, you're not stuck. You just keep recreating the same thing over and over. In other words, it's changing. It must change because the vibrational frequencies are constantly being emitted in the powerful now. And what's happening is coming in vibrational response to the broadcast that you are emitting. So it is constantly changing. It's just changing to the same thing over and over and over again. And that's really worth thinking about. In other words, when you put it in that context, doesn't that make sense? It is changing, so if I want it to change to something more pleasing, then somehow I've got to focus upon more pleasing things. And then you commonly say, but it is so hard to focus upon something that is pleasing when I'm surrounded by something that is not pleasing. And we say, but you can do it. You just cannot or may not be able to do it all at once. In other words, we don't expect you to go from beating the drum of something not wanted to suddenly forgetting all of those vibrational habits. We don't expect you to leave behind everything that you've worked so hard to come to believe. Sometimes people will say, I must focus upon that because it is true. And we say, and what makes this fact that it is true make it something that you now think that you must focus upon? And you say, because truths are truths, and we owe it to ourselves to give truths our attention. And we say, but why not be a little more picky about the truths you turn your attention to? When you say, this is a truth that I must focus upon, we say, all that a truth is something that somebody else focused upon. That's what made it a truth. When a whole lot of people focus upon something, it becomes true enough in enough of their experiences that you say, oh, this is reality. But what we want you to realize is that It is only true because somebody focused upon it. And just because somebody else focused upon it, we think it is a little bit illogical for you to say, I see this truth that I do not want, but because someone else focused upon this thing that they did not want and gave enough attention to it that they attracted it into their experience because law of attraction said that they must, now I think that I should do exactly the same thing. No logic in that, is there? So, what we are encouraging you to do is to make a decision that you will pay more attention to the way you feel, because when you pay attention to the way you feel, then you have awareness of what you are doing with your vibration. Your emotions are literally your guidance system to let you know how you are doing on your way to what you've been saying you want. Jerry and Esther have a wonderful navigational system in their vehicle. And the satellites in the sky, combined with the antenna on the roof of their vehicles and the computer that is in the vehicle, always knows where they are. So when they decide they want to go someplace, if it is a place that they do not know, they will program in the name of the city, the name of the street if they know it, even the street number. And Magellan will say to them, please proceed to the highlighted route. And then Magellan will guide them turn by turn to where they say they want to go. Magellan never says to them, where have you been? Because that has nothing to do with the only task at hand. The only task at hand is getting from where you are to where you want to be. And Magellan is so clear about what you said. It's a woman's voice. The man's voice was far too bossy. So Jerry and Esther affectionately call her, she. Jerry sometimes will say, shut that broad up. Because she is relentless. She never forgets what you told her you wanted. She never forgets where you said you want to go. So if you take a side trip, if you stop at Taco Bell or stop for fuel, Magellan will say, please proceed to the highlighted route. 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 She does not become more agitated. She does not get louder, but she insistently continues to say, please proceed to the highlighted route. And eventually, if you continue to ignore her and you go very far from the route, she will say, when possible, make a legal U-turn. You have a similar guidance within you. It comes to you in the form of your emotions. And when you pay attention to the way you can feel when you are upon your highlighted route. You can feel when you are in alignment with that which you are saying you're wanting. And you can also feel when you are not. It is exactly the same sort of guidance. So as you are paying attention to the way you feel, you are then able to, by reaching for thoughts that continue to make you feel better, you are able to keep yourself in vibrational alignment with that which you are saying you're wanting. The best words that we've ever heard offered in your physical environment were coined by Joseph Campbell when he said, follow your bliss. That's the key to success in all things. Absolutely true. But you don't have access to the feeling of bliss from your feeling of despair. The vibrational difference is too great, any more than you could set your tuner to 98.6 FM and hear what's being broadcast on 6:30 AM. In other words, there are different vibrational frequencies you're not going to hear. So, when you say, well, if I cannot follow my bliss, what hope is there for me? We say, well, follow the trail of bliss. And the first step from depression along the trail of bliss may very well be for you anger. You say, well, that's doable. And isn't it? Can't you feel it? Have you ever been in a place of depression where you couldn't get a breath of air? And then you thought of something that made you angry, and didn't it feel better? You gotta admit that anger feels a whole lot better than that depression, just like blame feels better than guilt. It does, doesn't it? Blame feels a lot better than guilt. There is so much more disempowerment in guilt. There is so much more loss of the feeling of freedom in guilt. So, if you were, as most of you are, as you come to these gatherings, usually vibrating somewhere between frustration and overwhelmment and joy. In other words, that's usually where your emotional set point is, different depending on the issue that you're focused upon, but usually in the upper registries. We would not counsel you into anger from your feeling of frustration. That's going the wrong way. But if you are in despair, we will root for the breath of fresh air that anger would bring you. And the reason that we would coach you into anger is because we know that in that anger, you're going to feel some relief, and in that relief, you're going to have moved your point of attraction. It will have shifted a little bit. In other words, you're not as stuck in disallowing the well-being that you've been asking for as you were in your despair. Now, we would never say, just go to anger and stay there, because from anger, you can easily get to frustration, and frustration is a big difference in feeling from anger. So, are you getting the sense of this? What you're reaching for as you are moving up the emotional scale, what you're reaching for is the feeling of relief as you leave the resistance behind. So there is relief in anger. You know there is. And there is relief in frustration. You know there is. And there is relief in hopefulness. And then there's relief in belief. And there's absolute relief in knowing. In other words, you can feel when you release resistance, which is the only thing that is keeping any of you from what you are really wanting. You are pure, positive energy beings. You are God force in physical form. You are extensions of source energy, and life is supposed to be good for you. You are creators that flow the energy that creates worlds, and you are standing on the leading edge of thought. It is supposed to feel good for you. Life is supposed to be good to you. And when it isn't, it is only for one reason. You have picked up a habit of thought, and you've practiced the beating of that drum long enough that you have established it as a vibrational habit. And as you continue to feel that vibrational habit, unless you do something to change the way you feel, law of attraction is going to continue to bring you stuff that feels like that. And as law of attraction continues to bring you stuff that feels like that, and you observe the stuff that feels like that, and you justify the way you feel by the stuff that keeps coming, then we understand why you feel stuck. But we promise you, you're not. You just got a cadence going that you need to shift a little. We've noticed that sometimes very powerful, very good teachers who are counselors might not understand the power that you give yourself when you find something that feels a little better to you. Most people worry when you go from depression to anger. Most people who know you would rather you're depressed than angry. Because when you're depressed, you go away and you leave them alone. And when you're angry, you're in their face. You're hard to be with. But you must reach the place, if you are going to listen to the guidance system that is within you, and it is what the art of allowing really is about. The art of finding thoughts that cause me to allow my connection with Source, that allow the well-being that I've identified to flow to me. So, when someone says to you, you should not be angry, just say to them, maybe not, but I am, and I'm glad I am. You should feel how bad I felt before I got mad. This anger is a big improvement for me. And if you don't like it, go someplace else. I won't be here forever. But right now, it's what I'm choosing, and it feels good to me. Now, here's the power in this, and this is what we really want you to hear. Now, we're really not big encouragers of running around and telling people you're angry, because they will disagree with the appropriateness of it, and they will try to talk you out of it, and then you will just end up angrier, more depressed. In other words, we see so many. You're depressed, maybe. Some of you have never felt that. Most of you have at some point or other. When you really, really, really want something, and you really, really, really can't figure out how to get to it, it really, really, really feels awful. And the more important something is to you, then the more awful it feels when you feel powerless to do something about it. All day you're putting things into your vortex, and all day they are becoming more and more and more. And all day the universe is calling forward cooperative components. And all day it's getting bigger and bigger. All day, every day. Your creations are becoming more and more. They are getting ready for you to get ready for them. They're getting ready for you to be ready for them. And how do you know when you're ready? When you're at your happiest, you see. So if you could just follow your bliss, if you could just go where it's fun, if you could just go where it's satisfying, if you could just do what feels good, if you could understand that what creation is lining up with what you put there, with what your inner being has added to it, with what law of attraction has added to it, then you'll be in that receptive mode where you get to be the receiver of the manifestation of the idea, so that you will live then, because we've been making this sound. You still with us? Still awake? Still alive? Still listening? So we've been making this sound like there's been this creation in progress, and that at some point it's going to, bam, manifest. And the lions are going to show up, and they're going to be there. Boom, like dropped from the sky. But it isn't like that. It's manifest, 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 manifest. You sort of get what we're talking about? You just want to feel good so that you can be in on all the clues, so that your mind can pick up the thoughts, so you can be in the receiving mode, so that you can follow the impulses to be at the right place at the right time. Because in any given moment in time, there should be 200 or 300 manifestations happening for your surprise and delight. And not one of you will ever be happy wanting something that you're not allowing. And we're not talking about just waiting for it to show up in the manifested form. We're talking about allowing it, allowing it, allowing it. That's the protocol. Be happy about it before I can see it or hear it and smell it or taste it or touch it. Be happy because I am recognizing the essence of it, because my recognition of the essence of the unfolding of me and my walls and my lions and so forth is the way I feel. It's the way I feel. Most of you, even when you've been listening to us for quite a long time, Esther too, at times, you want to jump so quickly to the manifestation. You really believe that this absence that I'm feeling, this void that I'm feeling, this loneliness, this absence of something that I want that I'm feeling, you really think that if you could just manifest something, that in the presence of it, instead of the absence of it, that then you would feel better. And what we want you to understand is when you jump to the action before you've flowed the energy, it is never satisfying. It is never satisfying. And that's why it's just maybe this thing, maybe if I just get this thing, or maybe if I just get this thing. And that's why we want you to have the fun of that sweet spot of energy flowing, of tuning the energy, of refining the energy, of syncing up with the way your inner being is looking at the energy. And so these are the components of perfect creation. You've asked for it. You've asked for it, and therefore it is. It's evolving and expanding, as are you. And therefore it is becoming more and more and more and more and more. And so when you are willing to allow your vortex, which is full of all of the components of everything that you want, when you are willing to allow the gestation of that vortex, this is the part that you must play, and you are willing to stay in sync often enough with that vortex that the manifestation, the clues are unfolding in your mind, so that when it manifests, it is the next logical step. Still, the satisfaction factor will be so huge. Now, stay with us. This is a long story, we know, but it's full of everything that you ever want to know about everything. So just hang in here with us just for a little bit. So, in the past, we've talked about when something manifests and it doesn't please you. Why did I get something that I don't really want? I thought I wanted. What's buyer's remorse about? What's buyer's remorse about? Well, buyer's remorse is about jumping in before you flowed the energy so that you don't recognize where you're going with it. Where if you care not about the manifestation, but you care about how you're feeling as you're visualizing, how you feel as you're imagining, how you feel as you are anticipating, then the energy is all lined up just right for you. And then when it manifests, it will be extremely satisfying. So this is the other piece that we want to stick in here. Not just the satisfaction factor, but if you've been listening to us for a while, and we know you have, many of you, we've been talking about things that surprise and delight you. And sometimes you wonder, well, if I'm the creator of my own reality, then how could anything ever surprise me? I can see how it might delight me, but how could it ever surprise me? As in the case of the lions, Esther knew. She knew they were coming. She saw pictures of them. She knew the quality of the work that these men were delivering. She knew, for the most part, what she was getting, but she had no idea how big and wonderful they were. They surprised and delighted her beyond her ability to comprehend before they manifested. So the reason that you, dear hearts, are addicted to manifestations is because the manifestation isn't just something that's there. It's something that you have created, and in it is all that you are. It's all the thoughts that you've thought about it. Esther was looking at some artwork that a wonderful woman had painted one day, and she said, Doris, how long did it take you to paint that? And Doris said 72 years, because that was her current age. And Esther got what she meant. She meant imbued in that painting is all that I am. All that I am. I've thought it forward into this. And so then Esther began looking around at different things in her life experience, realizing how much satisfaction is in so many of them. And so as a wall of stone that has been laid in her house stands there, it's not just a beautiful wall of stone. It's all the thoughts about that stone. It's all the trips to the stone quarry. It's all the conversations about it. It's all the conversations with the rock mason. It's all the attempts that the rock mason made in wanting to get it just right. It's all the times they built it up and all the times they tore it down and all the times they built it up and all the times they tore it down. It was all of the molding of it into place. And so when Esther looks at that beautiful quartz wall in her living room, she gets the sense of the hands in the clay, because that wall went up and came down and went up and came down and went up and came down and went up, and it was beautiful finally. It was beautiful as they finally molded it into place. And now when Esther looks at it, it's not just a pretty wall. It's a pretty wall that has all of those thoughts and all of those feelings and all of those desires and all of those questions and all of those answers and all of that life in that manifestation, you see. You can't stop the manifestations from happening. In every moment that you are focused out into the world, there are manifestations happening. There are manifestations that have happened that you can see. There are manifestations in the making. There's the manifestations of thoughts coming into your mind. So it all boils down to this simple understanding. You are a continuum of source energy, and you're here in this body continuing. You're sorting and sifting and coming up with things that you want at all levels of your being, and you're continuing by launching these vibrational rockets forward. Your inner being, who didn't come all the way forward with you, who remains non-physically focused, takes that new thought and holds it in that nice, steady place, which gives you the opportunity then to come into vibrational alignment with that ever-evolving, even though you don't know that it is, gestating vortex or vibrational reality. So Esther bought a house, a big house on a hill, a couple of years ago, and she's been looking for some lions. The house just needed some big lions to sit there. And she knew it. And so she's been on the hunt for lions for a couple of years. And taking pictures in front of the Capitol Grill. They have good lions. And she took a lot of pictures in Europe of lions, 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 lions. She's been taking pictures of lions. Her phone is full of lions. But she didn't find the lion that she wanted. So now she's in Alaska. She goes to a shop she's been in many times before, where she's purchased some wood carvings. And the people there know her, and especially this one man. He really looks forward to seeing her because she always buys a lot. And he wants to know what she wants. And she says, there isn't anything that I see here that I want, but I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some lions. And she described them to him partially. And he said, I'll find them for you. And when he said that, she felt something click into place. She knew that he would. So some time passed, and she got a text message from him with pictures of lions. And oh, those are the lions. And so she called him right back and said, when can I get those? And he said, when are you going to be at the house? And so they made an appointment to be there. And Esther flew to that house to meet the lions. And when he delivered them, there were 3 big trucks, because in Alaska they sell things all year long and then they deliver for a few months. And so they came directly to Esther, 3 big trucks full of magnificent things, including her lions, and 8 strong men to unload these heavy bronze pieces. And when they took them off the truck, Esther thought she was going to lose her mind. They were so beautiful. And then she felt a little bad because no one should be this happy about a material object. I should be working on world peace and the election. And so she did everything she could to contain her joy so that she didn't look foolish jumping around as they were setting these lions right where they were meant to be. And then he said, come look at what else is on the truck. And Esther said, I'm good. He says, no, come and look. So Esther went down the hill and looked at the truck, and he said, want an eagle? No, thanks. How about a dolphin? No, thanks. And so Esther said, well, where are you off to now? And they said, well, we're on a 30-state delivery. And next we're going to Texas. And Esther said, I live in Texas. Where are you going? And they said, Fredericksburg. And Esther said, you're going to go right past my place there. Stop and say hello. And they said, and we'll bring you dolphins. And Esther said, no. If you bring me something that wants to be in Texas, please. Like a horse. So in a very short time, like less than 2 weeks, she gets a call. They're in her driveway, and they have a horse. So Esther goes out and looks in the truck. Now there are only 4 men, plus her yard men, and they nearly die trying to get this horse off the truck. It weighs so much. It's a big stallion. It's standing on its hind legs with its front legs in the air, and it is magnificent, and Esther doesn't like it hardly at all. She's not feeling it, but she could not imagine them putting it back on the truck. So she bought it. So now they drive away, and Esther is thinking, wow, that was interesting. Because in terms of manifestation, it was almost an identical scenario. Same men, same trucks, big brass things, heavy, placed. And in one case, I was over the moon about it. And in the other case, I'm going to have to get to like that horse because it's ostentatious, it's gilded, it's got gold hoofs. It doesn't exactly look like it was just standing out in the pasture. It looks like it came in on a rainbow. So now Esther is really thinking about this, which is what life is so good to help you to do it. So Esther's wanting to know, Abraham, why did the lions feel like that? And why did the horse feel like that? And we said, it's all about momentum. Esther had had the delightful experience for a couple of years, and we're not talking about a time factor, but for the time preceding the actual manifestation of those lions, Esther had only had soft, easy, expectant energy flowing. So, and this is the part we want you to hear, the manifestation was the natural consequence of that energy flowing. Stay with us. This is the most important thing you're ever going to hear. With the horse, Esther just jumped right to the manifestation with no energy flowing before. She hadn't flowed any energy. The only reason she bought it is because they wanted her to buy it. And there is some energy flowing in that, but not very much. And so we're talking about the satisfaction factor. We're talking about what happiness really is. What happiness really is you in sync with the laws of the universe and the energy of the universe, letting it flow toward you through your natural processes of unfolding.